So 475 illegal aliens were detained at a Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia. And as you can tell from the title of this video, this is not your typical illegal immigration story. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about 475 illegal aliens being detained at a Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia. Now, straight from the beginning, elephant in the room. The majority, if not all of those who were detained were South Korean nationals. Why is that important? Well, Hyundai is obviously a South Korean company, so having South Korean nationals, in my humble opinion, points to something that may have come from the top. Okay, let's send our own people out there to this plant to work rather than hiring those locally. Now, I'm sure that there are some, probably the majority of workers there from that particular area. However, you had almost 500 illegals from South Korea. So this kind of flies in the face of those who say that, oh, you just hate brown people. What color are the South Koreans? Are they the Central Americans? Are they the Haitians like in Springfield, Ohio? No, they came there probably at the behest of somebody in the corporation. And this kind of thing goes on all over the world, not just the USA. Now, before I go any further, let's get to a news clip. Of course, I will link to the clip in the box if you want to see and hear it without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
We're following a massive ICE raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia. Officials say roughly 450 undocumented migrants were apprehended. Now, Thursday's raid was carried out by multiple state and federal law enforcement agencies, including ICE, the FBI, and the Georgia State Patrol. I want to bring in CNN's Isabel Rosales, who's been monitoring this. So, Isabel, what is the latest this morning?
Omar, good morning. With more than 450 people apprehended, this marks what appears to be one of the largest ICE raids at a single site in the 22-year history of this agency. Now, here's what we know. This happened at the Hyundai Meta plant site. This is in Ella Bell, Georgia. This is just 25 miles or so west of Savannah. And according to the Associated Press, this raid stopped construction of this factory that's being built to produce batteries for electric vehicles. This same site, this same project, this was touted by Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp, who called it the largest economic development site in the state's history.
Let's pause. Now, this is CNN, of course. They're going to have a spin on it. They're not addressing the obvious thing, which is the fact that these are South Korean nationals. They're trying to frame it, in my humble opinion, like, oh, these are just a regular Home Depot, day laborer, Central America. Nah, this is not that. Okay, but I'll give them a little bit of grace and let them finish.
Now, we have video that we're showing in pieces here of masked and armed agents there at the site, giving out orders while officers raided the facility. We can also see workers here in hard hats and vests. They were lined up as this was ongoing. On site was ICE, Georgia State Patrol, FBI, DEA, ATF. They were executing, Omar, a search warrant that DHS says is part of an ongoing criminal investigation into this, quote, allegations of unlawful employment practices and other serious federal crimes. They're saying.
Now, let's pause. Unlawful employment practices, because that's really important to highlight. Some are going to say, well, look, you want to get the illegal aliens arrested. How about the employers? Well, I think that's going to be the case here, because say that it's unlawful employment practices. It's not just about them being here illegally.
That this sends a clear and unequivocal message too that they're taking this very serious. And here is the special agent in charge, what he had to say.
Those who exploit our workforce, undermine our economy, and violate federal laws will be held accountable. I love it. Look, I like it. I love it. I want more of it. Shout out to McGraw. But let's keep on going.
About this raid.
We are making many arrests of undocumented individuals. We have encountered many lawful employees working here, United States citizens and lawful permanent residents, and they are, of course, being released.
Meanwhile, Hyundai says it is cooperating with law enforcement, saying this: we are committed to abiding by labor and immigration regulations. And meanwhile, Omar, on this same day, hundreds of miles away in upstate New York, another large raid at a work site. Dozens of workers at a family-owned plant that makes nutrition bars were also apprehended during an ICE raid. CNN affiliate WSTM reports that about 60 workers were detained. New York's governor condemned this raid, saying it doesn't make their streets safer. And the owner of that nutrition plant told the New York Times that the workers had legal documentation to work in the U.S., calling this ICE raid, quote, overkill.
Well, if they have legal documentation, apparently it wasn't enough. It wasn't adequate because there was a raid and people got detained. So obviously the paperwork wasn't all the way together. Now, there's a lot I want to say. First, I kind of want to skip to this article right quick. You see this right here. Homeland Security official says 475 people were detained during an immigration raid in Georgia. And you see the big factory, the big plant right there. All right. So look, the majority of the people detained were from South Korea, just so we on the same page, because they didn't mention it on the CNN piece we just watched. But this is the Associated Press. This is not some kind of right-wing rag. If anything, it's more left. But look, Stephen Schrank, special agent in charge, Homeland Security investigation, said at a news briefing Friday that the majority of the people detained were from South Korea. This operation underscores our commitment to jobs for Georgians and Americans. This was, in fact, the largest single-site enforcement operation in the history of the Homeland Security investigations. The investigation has been ongoing for several months, with authorities receiving leads from community members and former workers. So people that work there, regular Americans, people that have their documentation to work in the country as a guest, they're telling you, hey, they're bringing in the Koreans to do a lot of these jobs. And you know what? I think this ultimately can go all the way back to the top at Hyundai themselves, because what are the chances that you have a South Korean company with a plant in the United States with almost 500 South Koreans working there illegally? What are the chances that that happens with no coordination with Hyundai? And you know what? Let's talk about South Korea for a minute. You may see Seoul and see some of the glitz and the glamour and whatnot. Kind of looks like America mixed with China, but there is poverty. There is homelessness. People are struggling in South Korea as well. It's a very competitive and expensive place to live, just like Japan, but probably worse. The birth rate in South Korea is 0.73. Now, if you don't know what that is, the birth rate refers to the average number of children that each woman should have to maintain population. 2.1 is a number for that in the West. 2.1. That means each woman, on average, needs to have 2.1 children to maintain population. In South Korea, it's 0.73, which means within 2 generations, their population will be at 14% of the current. That is unsustainable. But the reason why it's so low, in part, is because society is very expensive and people cannot afford to have children. So you got a bunch of men who are not employed enough, underemployed, unemployed. Okay, I got a bright idea. Let's have this big company, probably one of the biggest companies in South Korea alongside Samsung and stuff like that. Let's have this company send 500 South Koreans to Georgia, work illegally, and then probably send money back to South Korea. That's probably what's going on here. And again, I think it will eventually show that when they go through all the whole investigation, get everybody arrested. That's what it's going to show. But ultimately, this is a great thing for Americans and legal residents of this country. If you're doing things by the book, I have no problem. But when you're not doing things by the book, when you got a foreign company setting up shop and bringing their own people in, that does not benefit us here in the USA. It doesn't benefit us. And as I said from the beginning, they do this kind of thing all over the world, not just South Koreans. We talking about the Chinese, all these different places with companies that they set up in different parts of the world. A lot of the whole game is, okay, we're going to send our own people to work, and all the benefits from this particular plant will go back to the country of origin, aside from some tax money, but they're going to pay as little as possible. They're not going to give jobs. They're not going to give a lot of tax money. That's the game, and that is unfair to U.S. American citizens and those who are here legally. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts about 475 illegal aliens from South Korea being detained at the Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is what I voted for. I like it. I love it. I want more of it. And you know what? The main thing is that jobs in America should be for Americans, or at least those who are here legally. Listen, if you're following the law, I have no problem with you. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, black, white, Puerto Rican, Kenyan stripe. It don't matter. If you're following the law in our country, then hats off to you. It's totally fine. But when you want to be here illegally, undermine our system, take jobs away from Americans, siphon money out of our economy and send it somewhere else, that's when I got a problem. I'm all about America. Anyone from any other country should be for their country. I am from here. This is what I'm for. And I think all Americans, and again, those who are here legally, agree with what I'm saying. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.